Welcome to Peace Talks. I'm Vonnetta L. West, and this is the first in a series of what will initially be eight 30-minute episodes of my sharing and then conversations that will include others who will join me in talking peace. Um, I believe this is one of the ways that I can contribute to filling our atmosphere with peace talks, with solutions for how we create peace, and not just peace in global conflicts and situations and escalation of violence between people, but peace in our homes, peace in our relationships, peace in our discourse, peace in how we engage each other on social media. And so, as I mentioned that, I can imagine people are already listening. Some of you who are listening and thinking, no, peace won't get us where we need to be. That's because we've so poorly defined peace. And I want to start right here in this moment with sharing these words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. And in his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, he said this: justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love. So combining those two things and those two quotes from Dr. King, I believe, I agree with him, that true peace is this space where we're not merely trying to get to the place where we just get along and don't have tension and we don't have visible violence, because there are many forms of violence. True peace is when we say we're going to put in the work to correct those things which are not aligned with love, with compassion, with equity, with care, with empathy. We're going to correct those things. Peace talks. I just want you, if you have a moment now, to share with people on your social media platforms, to invite people to watch, to invite people every day for the next 8 days. I plan to do this at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time each morning from today through next Friday, November 10th. And it may extend beyond that. If I discover there are some people out there who want to have peace talks and who want to talk about some solutions and some pathways forward, that call for us to live higher, to think higher, to love more deeply, to strategize with creating a culture of honor globally in mind, a culture of peace globally in mind, that causes us to say, here's our goal. And in order to get there, we're going to have to use these strategies, these processes, so that we don't destroy each other. And in our effort, we say, to get to peace for some people, determine that there are other people that we're willing to destroy. That's not true peace. Peace talks. I want to talk about peace in a way that leads to peace walks. I want to talk about peace and have peace talks in a way that leads us to peace walks and peace works. I believe, as my sweatshirt says, as my tagline says, this hoodie that I'm trying to get out to the world, let your life be your sermon. That's been my tagline, something that's been with me that I started to hear over 15 years ago and just started to say it, and I put a trademark on it. And I said, I'm just going to start wearing hoodies that when I come towards people, they're going to see, let your life be your sermon, which to me means, even as I talk to you about peace and I have guests come on and we talk about peace, we're going to talk about it in a way that causes us to say every day, I want my life to be a demonstration of peace, working for it, caring about it, being a vessel for it, uh, setting the atmosphere with my presence, my words, my engagement in such a way that when there's talk of war, when there's talk of violence, people turn and say, oh, there's somebody right there talking peace, that's about peace, that won't get pulled into minutia, that won't be in a place where they feel like they can't say they care about some people because they'll be labeled as anti other people, who are willing to invest time in talking it out and then in living it out. Let your life be a sermon. This is Peace Talks. This is Peace Talks. So over the next 8 days, we'll examine where is peace. Uh, that's good. I was thinking about what is peace, but then I started to think, where is it? I believe, peace could be like each one of us showing up with it. A lot of things that we've separated from ourselves, I got to go discover peace. I believe we're in a time now where if we don't become these things that have seemed so abstract, we're going to annihilate ourselves. And so I started to say, where is peace? And the question I should probably be asking is, how can I be a manifestation of peace? That when I show up, peace comes. And so even in our social media spaces, I type things up and then I delete things because I don't want to contribute to violence. And some people will say, just say whatever you want to say. You have a right to express yourself. I do. I have rights, but I have responsibilities. And so I have a desire to fulfill my responsibilities to humanity, that I'm not a part of escalating warfare, even in words, that I'm not a part of elevating discourse that's harmful and that's deconstructive in terms of the things that we need as human beings in order to function and live with love. I want to communicate in a way that's constructive. And so I'm willing to be careful, full of care. Peace talks, huge part of peace to me, and determining if I'm going to be the answer when people say, where is peace? If they're able to say, there's peace over there, Vonnetta's here. Peace talks. That when I hear about Palestinian children and Israeli children, Muslim children, Jewish children, Christian children, Hindu children, Baha'i, any children, and then any adults, because sometimes we talk about they're bombing the children. And I wonder if we have this affinity for children that doesn't also carry over into our love and compassion for adults. Because while I realize that it is especially heinous for children to be victimized and violated, it is also heinous for grown people, for elders, for adults to be victimized and violated. And so we mourn. And as we talk peace, we also will talk about in the next 8 days how mourning is a part of the pathway to peace. Shared mourning, not saying I'm going to mourn for Israeli people, but not for Palestinian people, not saying I don't want to even care about the history that preceded these moments, but saying maybe history can help us on this pathway to peace. Because if I get how we got here, maybe we can deconstruct the inhumanity and the things that swell up in us that lead us to moments that are devastating. Peace talks. Peace talks. We use words and we say them over and over again. Terrorists, mobs, different ways that we categorize people that at times are valid. If people have been used as vessels for terrorism, then some would say it's right to classify them as terrorists. And there are things that have happened over the last few weeks and globally that we didn't hear about in Congo and Sudan and other nations that haven't gotten the type of coverage in our media and are enduring conflicts that are violations and blights against humanity. That when we hear our language, we realize that we're often discriminatory. There are some groups that we would classify as terrorists and use words that heighten the fear of those groups and hate for those groups. And then we don't use those words for other groups that may be demonstrating similar behavior. Peace talks, though, will cause us to say, why do we use the language that we use? And what's the goal of language? When we talk about peace, we have to dive into our discourse and why we say the things we say. I got 19 more minutes because I only want to be with you 30 minutes each day. And I want to leave some things each day that just cause us to think. I don't have, and people probably wish I did, this space in me to not care for people uh, who are on different sides. And so what I've been dealing with in recent weeks is trying to balance and just be able to say, I care about what happens to people, and then dealing with, oh, you're anti-Semitic if you care about Palestinian people, or you don't care about freedom for Palestinian people if you care about what's happening to Israeli people. One of the things that I want to express to us that we're going to have to do to talk peace and to live peace, to talk peace and to walk peace, to talk peace and to work peace, is we're going to have to be well informed and well aware of our biases, of our bents, of the ways that we may take history and use it in a way that causes harm, of ways that we may ignore history in ways that cause harm, of ways that we may believe different things that are not true, of ways that we may deny the pain that people have gone through, of ways that we may look at a people like Palestinian people and tell them your lived experience didn't happen, because we refuse to believe it, because we have affinity to a doctrine or a scripture or a background or a deity. The ways that our religion has caused us, some of us, to not be able to talk peace, to work peace, to live peace. The ways that we may have used the divine as a barrier to something that the divine wants us to partake in, and not just partake in, but to be. It's peace talks. This is peace talks. I want to ask this, or say this and ask, we are filling the atmosphere with violence. What if we talk more about peace and how to create it? When I say that, I don't mean ignoring war, ignoring militarism, or ignoring the abhorrent, terrible things that are happening right now in Gaza and Congo and Sudan and Somalia and Yemen and Afghanistan and the United States of America, Jackson, Mississippi, right now, today, dealing with a water crisis, Flint, dealing with poison water that they still can't get justice. And I don't mean retaliation when I say justice. I mean love correcting those things that stand against love. What if we, when we're every day, not just reactively and responsively, but proactively, filled our atmosphere, our school curriculum with talk of peace, which doesn't mean ignoring history and not talking about how we got to a place of violence. It means talking about our history in a way that says the type of behavior and spirit demonstrated here, we never want to see it again. Peace talks. People who want peace are willing to be uncomfortable, in uncomfortable conversations, willing to say our children might have to engage in some uncomfortable conversations. But if those conversations are led with love, then we can get to the place where peace talks become peace walks and peace works. What if we talk more about peace and how to create it? And how to create it, even when wars are resolved. If that can truly happen, we start to discover and dig into ways that we don't come to war again. It's what peacemakers do. Whenever I hear people say, well, I'm praying for peace, I remember that my Messiah says, blessed are the peacemakers. So that's why I know peace talks, we're talking peace, need to become peace walks. What if we talk about how to sustain peace? And this translates more to if we come into this space thinking we're going to have peace talks about different conflicts and wars and violence in the world we also need to have peace talks about what happens in our homes, what happens in our relationships, our conversations, our discourse, our schools, our government, our legislation, our politicians, our entertainment, our media. Our Congress in the United States of America needs peace talks. Share this link and tag them on it. We should have ambassadors, people who understand how to go in and be peacemakers, who won't say that lives on this side are more valid than lives on the other side, who won't choose colonialism and imperialism and gross capitalism over the lives of human beings, who have a global, comprehensive, compassionate perspective, who, of course, if they're politicians representing the interest of a nation, are concerned about those interests, but who are also greatly interested in humanity, in love, in compassion, in creating a global society that is driven by care, that is driven by shared interests. We can have that. Some people look at me like I'm naive when I talk about it, but hope isn't naive. Hope means I look at what happens, I'm clear on it, I understand reality, and because I'm willing to be a part of the work, I also have an understanding that we can get to something different, something better, something great. Why do I say that as we talk peace? Because peace is not passive. Peace works. Peace works in the sense that it works for us because it helps us to not usher in our non-existence, but peace works. It walks. It steps into situations and it creates an atmosphere. And I think if we're peacemakers and peacemongerers, we can not only be reactive to the things that are killing people and harming people and creating genocide and apartheid and um, creating spaces where children are not safe and adults are not safe and causing a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and xenophobia. And when I say rise, I mean it's been there, but now people are more open in expressing it because they see that the culture, that the language, that the discourse is not peace, it's not hope, it's not true peace, it's not love, but it's open. We've opened the passageways and the airwaves for violation. Peace is not passive. Peace is more than a prayer. As we start these 8 episodes, I want to share that. Peace is a process and a proactive posture. Peace takes time, but if I work out peace in me and I become a peacemaker and I become a being of peace, then it becomes who I am. When I show up, peace is there. Not a person who's going to agree to get rid of folks, not a person who's going to agree to diminish people. I'm going to be a person who understands the language of genocide. That when I hear people start to talk about who doesn't have to be around, I hear buzzers go off. When I hear people clearly articulate that it's okay to blow some people up and some people deserve to live, then I start to say, okay, how do I show up as peace in this situation? Peace is a process and it's a proactive posture. Peace is resolute and it's responsive. It's proactive and responsive. Proactive and responsive. It's resolute and it's a process. It's a process. But if we're being peace, then that's much different than having to show up and continually work for peace. I want to know, as a result of these times we'll spend together, how many people are just going to say, I'm going to let my life be this message. I'm going to show up as peace in my workplace, in schools, in conversation, in media, and how I engage on social media. I'm going to show up as what I want to see. I want to have to be it. We're facing now the realization, the harsh realization, that if we don't put something else out there in every area of our lives, then we are contributing to the downfall of humanity. And sometimes I think that we're so focused on disagreeing with each other, that we're okay with our disintegration and our annihilation. As long as I know that I voiced my displeasure and my disagreement. You know how many things I see on social media that I disagree with, that I don't respond to? Why do I not respond? For one reason is this, that I understand that some people thrive on disagreement. I happen to thrive on collaboration, and I thrive on coming up with solutions. And so if I'm in a space where I see, okay, this isn't a space that's really availing itself for us to come up with or be solutions, then I realize this isn't a peacemaking space. I have to come out and develop a strategy for peace talks. If I'm going to go in and reach people in those spaces, then how do I do it? How do I show up in a way that's not arrogant, that's not forceful, but simply saying, hey, can we think about it from this perspective? So we have to be willing, if we're going to engage in peace talks that become peace works and peace walks. Understand that peace has a resolve to it. It's willing to work and put in some time. If I'm going to let my life be a message, and I'm going to do more than talk peace, I'm going to walk it and work it, then there's some things that I have to commit to. So I want to ask us to just in the next 8 days and possibly beyond that, to commit to talking peace more and then to working peace and walking peace. Realizing again, peace is not passive. We'll discuss more in the next 8 days. What is peace? Where is peace? How can I be peace? How can I show up as it? How can I be a messenger for it? How can I not just be a peace prayer, but a peacemaker? How can I fulfill, if peace is a part of the mandate for my faith and my religion, how can I fulfill peace in a non-discriminatory way? How can I show up for peace for people if they don't agree with me, if they don't look like me, if they don't fit a doctrine I've subscribed to? How can I not allow doctrine to be elevated above love? In my faith tradition, love is the highest law. That's you too. But I also apply it to my faith tradition because I believe Christ said the two greatest commandments on which hang the law and the prophets is to love God with everything you have, to love your neighbor as though your life depends on it. All out, love God full on, love your neighbor as though your life depends on it. Got 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Do this today. Do this today. Examine how your language, including on social media, either cultivates or deters peace. Examine how your language, including on social media, either cultivates or deters peace. Social media is that space, right? It's that place where we're really struggling because we're hiding behind many people. They aren't even using their real faces or images on social media. And so we're creating these spaces that are unreal, and people feel like they can say whatever they want to say. And then we have to discover, who are we? Who are we really? Have I become this social media persona? So peace talks, peace works. Peace is resolute and responsive. Peace is a process and proactive posture. Peace is more than a prayer. We're makers of peace. Peace is not passive. We'll talk about, as guests join in some of our episodes, our time together for peace talks. How do we get there? This is what I'll leave you with, to examine how your language, including on social media, either cultivates peace or deters peace. Are you in social media spaces cultivating peace or deterring peace? In any spaces, in your home, um, are you showing up as a peacemaker? And of course, we need to understand, define, redefine, talk about in our peace talks what peace is in these 8 days that we'll share together. And I want to invite you to invite other people. And I know we may end on some days and you say, oh, we don't have all the solutions to fix the world. But at least we've talked about something that's made us more hopeful. We've talked about something where we've had to examine solutions. And even if you're going out to protest, and I believe in these times, each of us has to determine our form of protest for a more just, humane society and for justice in particular situations. If you're protesting, how can you do it? With a posture for peace, to be constructive concerning people, destructive and deconstructive concerning policies and legislation that's harmful to people, systems that are harmful to people. How do we focus our attention so that we're makers of peace? So that we're makers of peace, which again means that we can be constructive concerning policies and legislation and systems that are harmful to people, constructive as we talk about elevating humanity and being sure that we don't usher in our collective annihilation. This is peace talks. This is peace talks. We can get there. And if nothing else, we can start to work on peace in every pocket, in every area of our lives, including our minds, our hearts, our spirits. We can be vessels for peace. We can protest for peace. We can protest for justice, which again, this Kenyan definition grabs me. Love, correcting everything that stands against love. We can correct policies. We can build peace and create peace in our schools, in our classrooms, in our curriculum. We can show up and be peace. Sis, peace talks. I want to keep saying it because when I was thinking about what to call these times together, I said peace talks because I would hear that phrase sometimes and it would mean people like ambassadors and politicians and world leaders were sitting down to talk peace in different situations. And now I want that to be about us coming together each day for the next 8 days to talk peace and to have our peace talks become peace walks and peace work. Peace talks.